Hey, how's it going, guys? Welcome back to another YouTube channel. If you guys don't know who I am, my name is David, and today I'm gonna be showing you guys exactly how the 20 biggest problems, even if you're a business owner, even if you're running your own agency, here are the 20 biggest problems that you can essentially solve to help you increase your revenue, your time, your efficiency, your business to that next level, right? But before we kind of go into this a little bit more in depth, and I'll show you guys the 20 biggest problems that I found out are the biggest problems to hinder any success in any business. I am actually hosting a free live webinar. I'm gonna put it in the description down below. If you guys wanna check it out, feel free. I'll also attach my newsletter as well. So if you guys want to subscribe to my articles to kind of get a little bit more insight and real-time updates on how to actually implement these systems into your business directly, feel free to check it out, completely free. There's nothing that I'm charging, right? So let's get straight into it. So the first one, and I'm just gonna go from the biggest problems to the furthest ones, right? So one, where to go with time, right? So the reason why I say time, and this is the biggest thing for most business owners, right? Most people, whether if that's you as a business owner, whether if you run your own agency, if you're running everything solely operated by yourself, that's a huge problem, right? Obviously, when you're just starting out, yes, you're gonna have to do it because you don't have funds to hire in people and stuff like that, which is totally normal. Everyone has done that. But if you're at like that mark where you're making over 10K, 20K, you need to hire in people to actually do the work for you. You need to make sure that you delegate the time, right? So obviously having systems in place can help you save more time on your hands for sure. But this is the biggest thing that is hindering you from actually growing your business and growing your, and kind of like delegating your time into other areas and other aspects of your business, right? So two, we're gonna talk about is delegation, right? So obviously this might kind of be similar to time, but it's not really similar. Delegation is kind of like hiring in people to kind of delegate your time for you, right? So for example, if you're doing the marketing, if you're doing the SEO, if you're doing the servicing, if you're trying to reach out to clients to get them into the calendar, right? Or to try to book on with you, you need to make sure that you hire in the right people to delegate your time further, right? That could be like hiring or implementing an AI receptionist, AI voice agent. That could be hiring in someone to do the marketing for you. That could be hiring in someone to make sure that they delegate your time effectively more on like the customer support side, right? Handling FAQs, handling any customer inquiry forms. They can handle that, and you're able to kind of shift your focus away from that into more like servicing clients. And then as you grow and scale, then you can hire in clinicians, you can hire in people, technicians that can do the work for you, and now you're pretty much just operating your business on autopilot, right? Three is, I'm gonna put this as not, or I'm gonna just put sticking to same processes. All right. Most business owners and most people don't actually do this, just because they like to stick to what has been working, which is totally fine. Keep on doing that. If it's not broke, don't fix it, right? But as time goes on, if you're really not seeing the results that you're looking for and you're still using the same processes, that can be an issue, right? You want to make sure that let's say in the next 6 months, right, you're not really seeing the results and you're still in the same situation that you are in. It's probably time to actually switch some systems, right? As I think it's a good timing to actually switch from using the same exact systems that you have been using for the past 6 months that hasn't really been getting you the results, into actually implementing systems that will get you the results, right? So a lot of people typically stick to the same processes, and that's one of the biggest things that hinders you from actually scaling, right? Four is, we're gonna put this in revenue, right? So obviously, I know it's a vague term, but most people don't really, seem, or like they don't really track exactly where the revenue is losing. They're not tracking the bottlenecks. They're not tracking anything at all, right? No, there's no analytics to go into it. So at the end of the day, like, you just got to realize, like, revenue is the biggest thing that will hinder you from, you know, making money, because this is where you make the most amount of money. This is where your money comes from, right? Which is revenue. If you're still stuck in like the same processes like I mentioned, which also compounds into this right here, you have to make sure that you figure out ways, where are the bottlenecks? Where is most of my revenue coming in from? Is it referrals? Is it pre-existing clients? Like, so you got to figure out a way where you're tracking that, right? And that's where it kind of leads on to number 5, where not tracking data, right? Or I'm gonna just put this as analytics. Number 5 is not tracking analytics, right? If you don't know where your leads are coming from, if you don't know who you're tracking, if you don't know what your processes are like, if you don't know how much you're spending on software and systems, if you don't track where your revenue is leaking the most, that is the biggest thing in terms of like how most business owners will never scale their business or their company, because they're not tracking anything. There's no Google Sheets. Everything is just kind of done manually. And I don't know if I did it here, but yeah, I mean, anyways, right? I mean, you just want to make sure that you have something that you can track. You have the data, you have the analytics to actually know where everything is leaking, where you can improve, and using that data to actually scale the business, right? So if you're not tracking anything, you have to make sure that you do, or else you're not going to scale the business. Number 6, we're going to put this as being open to change, right? So what I mean by this is, I'll just leave it like that. So the reason why I say being open to change is because if we come back into here, right, most people are just kind of like stuck in the same processes, right? And the reason why I say being open to change is because if you aren't open to like change in terms of like you're using the same processes, but you're not really doing the exact, like you're not implementing the exact systems that you're trying to do, obviously like you're not gonna grow, because you want to make sure that as you grow, you figure out what's not working, and then you're delegating that time, which is right here, which we mentioned, delegation, into actually being able to implement systems that will be helping you change the business, the trajectory, how much revenue comes in and stuff like that, right? But yeah, other than that, that's number 6. And now number 7, this kind of ties down to like revenue, but it is low customer retention, right? So most of you focus on solely like referrals, pre-existing clients, and there's nothing wrong with that. But as you grow, you can't just solely rely on pre-existing clients and referrals, right? Just because if they're gone, where's your revenue coming in, right? So most of you are just solely sticking to, lower customer retentions, and the reason why you guys face this is because you're not making adjustments, you're not open to change, and most people will just come in one time and they never book on with you again, right? And then after that, where do those customers go? Probably somewhere else, right? Because they're gonna need their service again one day, but they never contact you back. So they're probably going to a different servicing provider because they're more familiar, or they're probably just in the area, right? So you want to make sure that you have a follow-up sequence, or like a follow-up automation, like a system in place to make sure that you have a higher, so instead of a low, you have a higher, customer retention rate, right? So with that being said, number 8 is, ineffective. So I'm gonna just write this down. Ineffective marketing. So as I like to say on my channel, right, it's not about the marketing, it's not about the brand, it's not about the positioning that you're in. It's really more so about the systems that you have in place, right? People will come to you, no doubt, right? You're probably doing some sort of marketing advertisements, such as meta ads, or if it's flyers, or working with referrals and pre-existing clients, and you're probably getting referrals from those pre-existing clients. People will come. So it's not about the marketing, it's about the systems, right? And that's what a lot of people forget. Like, you need systems in place to be able to make sure that you grow your business. And this will tie down into here, right? And all of these are different problems, but they're all kind of initially tying down to each other, right? Like 8, ineffective marketing. You're spending your time on marketing when you could spend your time on actually servicing the clients. This is essentially poor, so I'm gonna write this down. This is poor time management, right? And you don't want that. You don't want this, right? I mean, completely erase this from your, daily routine, because you don't need that. So that's number 8. You don't want to be spending your time on ineffective marketing. You want to spend your time on actually delegating your processes and actually increasing your revenue, right? Delegating your time. Switching to, not sticking to the same processes and actually utilizing your processes to track your data and analytics to see what works or not, right? Number 9, this one's a good one. Hiring in the wrong people. So I could have just run like wrong hires, but the reason why I say this is another problem is because most people will hire in the wrong people. They think, oh, I need someone to do the marketing for me, or I need someone to do I need someone to delegate, the servicing for me. I need to hire more clinicians. Well, not only are you probably over hiring, but at the end of the day, if you keep on hiring, you're in a good mindset of like, oh, for me to grow my business, I need to scale out and I need to hire in people to do the work for me, which is a good thing. But if you're not making as much money, where does all that money go? It goes to your employees. It goes to the people that you hire. That revenue is not coming towards you. So let's say you're making let's say you're making $10,000 a month, right? Or 20,000. The profit margin is going to be pretty unbearable. You're probably only going to get like 10 to 15% of that profit, right? So the margins are horrible. It's like 85% to 15%. So you want to make sure that you hire in the right people at the right time. You don't want to hire in the wrong people or the right people at a wrong time, right? So number 10 is obviously what I've talked about. Lack of systems and automations, right? Most of you are still manually doing everything yourself. And I talked about this at time, which is congruent to poor time management. But most of you do not have any systems at all. You're like so many other business owners that I've talked to, they're still using Google Excel spreadsheets to track everything. Their clients, their invoices, literally everything. They're following up with people by calling them, sending them messages, emails. It's not gonna work, And even if you do hire in someone to do the work for you, you still have to pay them every single week, bi-weekly, weekly, or like monthly to be able to actually have them keep on doing that, right? So you want to make sure that you have the right systems in place. You want to have the foundations. It's not like, if you kind of like put into this perspective, right? This is the foundation and this is the layer. It's probably not going to be stable, right? But if you put this as the foundation where it's like flat and you have this, it's probably going to stand up like this, right? Well, it didn't stand up right there, but you get the idea. You want to make sure that you have this solid foundation of having the systems in place before you actually, delegate your processes to like hiring the right people. Having other systems in place, being able to track your data, because without the right systems, you're doing everything manually. You won't have the data to track that, right? All right. So number 11 is poor communication, right? So the reason why this is a big problem is because most people aren't as communicative as they need to be in terms of like with their team, with themselves, with their clients and stuff like that, right? So this essentially can go into like SOPs. So if you don't know what SOP is, it's called Standard Operating Procedures. You can automate this. You can hire in the right people at a right time, give them the SOPs, and create actual systems in place that actually have better communication, right? So better communications with the right SOPs. So this is another problem that you can essentially fix. 12, and I wrote it down here, is client acquisitions, right? So client acquisitions. And the reason why I say client acquisitions is because, like I said, this will tie down exactly into hire or into ineffective marketing right here, right? And that's because like you want to make sure that you have better acquisition systems in place to make sure that you can hire in, or you can bring in the right clients, right? The right ICP, the right ideal client profile. Like you don't really need to do all this, like all that. Like you don't need to actually do marketing at all. Like believe it or not, you can do organic outreach, you can do organic marketing, have the right systems in place, and actually convert them into actually qualified patients or clients, right? 13 is pre-qualification, right? So a lot of people still don't really pre-qualify their clients before booking on an appointment, right? They book on an appointment, they do a consultation or and like an estimate, and they figure out it's a waste of their time, right? So you want to make sure that you have the right systems in place, right automations to pre-qualify leads, pre-qualify clients and patients before you actually get them on the schedule, right? Number 14 is no clear strategy or goal. Now, we're not even talking about systems and automations here anymore. We're talking about like what the biggest problem is, why most business owners don't really, can't really grasp upon, right? And that is not having a clear strategy or goal. If you don't really have a clear strategy or goal, you're not going to get anywhere because you don't have a specific outcome that you want to get. You don't have a specific desire that you want, right? So number 14 is not having a clear strategy or goal. Number 15 is essentially underutilizing. This is a good one, right? So I'm gonna erase this. And it's underutilizing. And the reason why I say underutilizing is this can be systems, this can be automations, this can be using your team, underutilizing your team, underutilizing yourself in terms of how to grow the business, right? So you want to make sure that you overutilize rather than underutilizing, right? So 16, we're gonna come back and we're going to put in compliance and legal issues, right? So most people and legal issues. Now, most people do not understand this at all, like compliance and legal issues. And that's where most businesses kind of like have to go through like trial and error, got to go to like court. And sometimes, we had a client that had to like go through court because they didn't want to be, compliant with HIPAA, and anything there, like anything in like the healthcare, right? So, especially if you're using an EMR, you want to be able to make sure that you're HIPAA compliant before you do anything at all, right? So making sure that you're stuck to compliance and legal issues will help you, obviously, delegate your time more efficiently, so you don't have to go through like all the legal troubles or whatnot, right? 17 is like I said, weak leadership. If you don't have a good leadership within the company, and obviously this can tie down to your time, this can tie down to delegation, and this can tie down into hiring the wrong people as well, right? You want to make sure that you have a good leadership to tie down into your business to actually scale your business the right way, right? Number 18 is number 18, burnouts. Everyone burns out, right? That's just how business is. You're gonna burn out eventually. So whenever you burn out, it's good to reflect and just kind of go from there, right? You want to reflect, delegate your time. You want to kind of like debrief on what exactly is not working and what you should be doing to actually make it work, right? Number 19, and I'm just writing down 20 here as well. Number 19 is, poor cash flow management, right? So poor cash flow management. And I know you might be wondering like, oh, you already talked about that, David. You already talked about it here in, client acquisitions, right? Well, poor cash flow management is it's slightly a little bit more different, right? Poor cash flow management is like this honestly ties down more into not tracking data and analytics. Most people do not know where their bottleneck is in terms of like where most of the revenue is leaking, right? If you don't have a system, or if you're not tracking exactly where your cash flow is poor at, or it's like leaking, that's an issue, right? And number 20, the last problem that I have seen that most business owners have yet to figure it out. Most people did, but there's still a lot of people that haven't figured it out, is that you don't have the capacity, right? I don't know why I blinked out there, but you don't have the capacity. And what I mean by this is you try to just get in clients, but you don't have the capacity. You don't have the systems. And this right here, I'm gonna put a star into it. I'm gonna put 2 stars actually. This right here ties down to everything. And the reason why I say it ties down to everything is because you try to just go one, like speed, like you just want clients. But can you handle 100 clients at once? Probably not, right? Can you handle 100 clients in a month? Maybe. Can you handle 100 clients in the next 2 to 3 months? Yeah, you probably can, right? Depending on your niche and industry. But you want to make sure that you have the foundation in place first before you even think about getting clients. Obviously, you want to make sure that you outreach and get clients as fast as possible. But even if you're getting too many clients coming in, you're gonna have to turn some of them away because you can't handle all of them, right? So this is essentially everything from 1 to 20 on the biggest problems that I've seen most business owners and people who have businesses, online business agencies are running.